Let's talk about how to transform the way you study. I mean, if you've ever felt like you're putting in endless hours for an exam only to be totally disappointed by the results, then you are in exactly the right place. Let's get right into it. This feel familiar to you? You double down on studying, you cancel all your plans, you're practically living in the library, and somehow your grades get worse. I know, it sounds completely backward, doesn't it? But it's a very real problem. And the solution isn't to study even harder, it's to study smarter. To really understand why this happens, let's meet a student named Faris. So after his first semester exams, Faris was pretty bummed out. He felt like he was slacking off and he was determined to turn things around. So Faris scored a 60% on his first exam. He decided the only solution was just more effort. He came up with this super intense new plan. 6 hours of nonstop studying every single night from 6 p.m. straight to midnight. No breaks, just pure brute force focus. So what do you think happened next semester? He got a 50%. Yeah, that's right, a full 10% lower after all that extra work. Faris fell into a super common trap, one that wastes your most valuable resource, your effort. So what on earth went wrong? To figure this out, we've got to understand how our brains actually handle those long study sessions. Because as Faris found out the hard way, more hours definitely does not always equal more learning. Okay, so here's the science. Studies have shown that the average adult's peak concentration, like your best focus, only lasts for about 30 minutes. After that, your focus just starts to nosedive. Think about it. After half an hour, don't you find your mind wandering to what happened yesterday or what you're going to have for dinner? That's your brain literally telling you it needs a reset. This chart shows you exactly what happened to Faris's focus. I mean, he started off strong, but after that initial 30-minute peak, his concentration just plummeted. By hours 5 and 6, he was probably just staring at the page, retaining almost nothing. His body was at the desk, sure, but his brain had checked out a long time ago. So if these long marathon sessions don't work, what does? Well, the answer is working with your brain's natural rhythm, not fighting against it. And this is our first powerful technique. Here is the solution. Instead of one long, draining session, just imagine if Faris had broken up his study time into these focused sprints. As this graph shows, this method keeps your focus consistently high. Each of those little breaks acts like a reset button for your brain, letting you come back sharp for the next round. The technique is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. You study with intense focus for 30 minutes. Then you take a complete 5-minute break. And I mean a real break. Get up, walk around, grab a coffee, do anything but study. Then you just repeat that cycle. This simple rhythm lets you maintain peak concentration for hours. Okay, so we've solved the focus problem. Awesome. But that leads to the next huge challenge. How do you actually make the information stick? Because even if Faris was super focused, most of that information would have just vanished pretty quickly. The German psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus, he studied this problem like crazy. And he discovered something he called the forgetting curve, which basically maps out how fast we lose information if we don't make a conscious effort to hang on to it. And here's what that curve looks like in real life. It's brutal. If you learn something on a Sunday and don't look at it again, by the next Saturday, you'll have forgotten about 80% of it. Only 20% is left. This is exactly why cramming for an exam feels so useless a week later. But there's a way to fight back. The scientific solution to this forgetting curve is a technique called spaced repetition, and it is incredibly effective. The whole idea is to review information strategically, right as your brain is about to forget it. Every time you review it, you strengthen the memory, moving it from short-term to long-term storage. So how do you actually do it? Well, this timeline shows the magic formula. After you first learn something, review it 1 day later. Then do it again after 3 days. And a final time after 6 days. That's it. These 3 simple reviews can lock information into your long-term memory for months, maybe even years. Now, I know what you're thinking. Review everything I study 3 separate times? I do not have time for that. And you know what? You're right. You don't. That's where our final and maybe the most important technique comes in. You can't, and you don't have to. The key isn't to review every single page and every single note. The key is to be selective, to be strategic about what you review. This was probably another mistake Faris made. He was trying to relearn everything from scratch every single time. To do this, you need to separate everything you study into 2 simple categories: concepts and information. A
A concept is something you need to understand, like the long, complex logic behind a physics formula. Information, on the other hand, is what you need to memorize, the final formula itself, which is what you're actually going to be tested on.
Let's use another example to make this crystal clear. The complex story of how a disease develops and affects the body. That's the concept. You need to understand it once. But the specific symptoms used for diagnosis, that's the information. That's what you need to put into your spaced repetition system. You focus all your review energy on the information column. So let's bring this all together. You now have 3 powerful, science-backed tools that are going to completely revolutionize the way you learn. First, you're going to work in focused 30-minute sprints, followed by 5-minute breaks to keep your concentration at its peak. Second, you're going to use spaced repetition, reviewing key info after 1, 3, and 6 days to lock it in your memory. And third, you'll be smart about what you review by separating those big concepts from the core information you need to memorize. The problem was never that you weren't trying hard enough. The problem was that all your incredible effort was being wasted on strategies that just don't work. Your time and your energy are precious. These techniques will make sure that every single minute you spend studying actually counts. So please, don't wait until the next big exam is breathing down your neck. Pick just one of these techniques and try it out in your very next study session. The change you'll see in your focus and how much you remember will be immediate. Hey, if this was valuable for you, please do me a favor and hit that like button and share it with a friend or a classmate who you think could really use it. Thanks so much for tuning in.